and welcome to This Thing Called Life, a podcast dedicated to sharing stories of giving, kindness, compassion, and humanity. Your host, Adria Johnson, will guide you through powerful stories of organ, tissue, and eye donation from individuals, families, and healthcare teams whose experiences will inspire you. Every act of giving, no matter how small, has the potential to change a life. We're so glad you're here. Now, let's dive into the show.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adria Johnson, your host of This Thing Called Life, and I want to welcome you to our show. I'm really excited about our two guests today. I want to welcome Barry Massa, a CEO of Network for Hope, and Adria Johnson, CEO of United Way, Metro Louisville. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much for being here. So, as you know, Network for Hope facilitates donation throughout the state of Kentucky, portions of Ohio, West Virginia, and Indiana. And really, the mission of the organization is we serve as a bridge. We serve as a bridge for the patients that are waiting, and also those selfless heroes who make the decision to be a donor, as well as their families. And so, Adria, I want to start with you. And I'd like for you to take us back to November of 2022.
Yeah, so November of 2022 started off like a normal month and then became quickly abnormal for me and my family. We experienced the loss of my son and his younger brother. My son succumbed to his injuries. They were in a car accident. Someone was under the influence that caused the accident, and we found ourselves immersed in a world that was very foreign to us. But Network for Hope, I mean, honestly, which was then Kentucky Organ Donor Affiliates, was a lifeline. It was hard enough to prepare to say goodbye to my son and know that KJ would no longer be here, but he had elected at the age of 18 to be an organ donor unbeknownst to us. And certainly I consider him probably the premier selfless hero that I will know in my lifetime because of that gift. And that's exactly what the organization was to us in that moment. That was very painful. They were a bridge. They were a bridge that helped us through the process of honoring what my son's wishes were and then helping others to go on and live stronger lives for the duration of their time here on earth.
So how many people did KJ help?
Well, gosh, I don't know that I know the full count because I know that there is, at the time, there was a young man who was 36 years old that received his heart. I've since been able to communicate with him and understand what a gift that was to he and his family and his life. And I know there are two women that were mothers that each one has his kidney, but I also know that there were other parts of KJ's physical body that went on to help further research and advancements in medicine. And so when I think about the ripple effect of his gift, probably beyond what I can wrap my head around, and that's pretty incredible.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So Barry, as CEO of Network for Hope, and you've been in this space of working in donation for over 20 years. How does it make you feel when you hear KJ's story?
Not only KJ's story, but any story, those are the things that inspire us. The work is difficult. It's a 24/7, 365 organization. It really takes a lot of dedication. If you're just in it for a job, you'll never make it. You have to be passionate about the mission, and KJ's story is our mission. Mm-hmm. So anytime that we have a story or hear a story, those are the things that inspire you and motivate you and rejuvenate you when you're not feeling like you're having the best day.
Right.
So those stories are key to everything that we do. And it kind of sets the tone for the organization because we want to do what is right for those families and those recipients. And like I said, if you're just in it just to have a job, you'll never make it.
Right.
You have to be passionate about the mission. And that's how people stay in this role for many years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So speaking of that, So you're, again, going back to that day, you had a family support person.
We did,
Yes.
yeah. About KJ was in the hospital for 9 days.
Okay.
And it was started on a Friday, or at least that's when I made it to the hospital. That accident happened the evening before. I think it was fast forward, maybe that Monday or Tuesday. I don't remember exactly which day.
It was a blur.
Yeah, a lot of, but I remember being in KJ's hospital room and someone from the organization coming to the door and just gesturing to me, "Can I come and speak with you for a minute?" And they showed me, they had an actual copy of the paper, KJ's paperwork, where he had elected to be an organ donor with his signature. And that was the beginning of it. I mean, they really just made us aware as a family that this is something that your son had signed up to do when he was 18. KJ was 29 when he passed away. And really it was, just wanted to make you aware of that, and just left us to then kind of make a decision. And so, and of course, just kind of talk through just a few basics, but nothing too overwhelming for us to take in as a family in that moment. I can't underscore enough just the sheer just care and compassion and respect and dignity that everyone from CODA showed us from beginning all the way past us saying goodbye to KJ and the donation taking place and continuing to check on us and all of those things. But in that moment, yes, that person was just, honestly for me, really a lifeline. I mean, it's hard enough when you're preparing, when you're in that situation and the gravity of that situation and what the prognosis is, and for someone to hand you this incredible gift that allows you to know that your loved one lives on, right. Maybe in a very different way, obviously, right. But to know that their life just has even more of an incredible meaning because they're able to bless others. So I can't speak enough to just the tenderness with which we were engaged around and supported. And of course, for me, for the rest of the family, it was a no-brainer to honor, something that he had put in motion. But even if he hadn't, I mean, if I had been posed with that question, would you consider it, would have been a resounding yes, right. With very little need to think about it, because I know how important it is to help others. And then certainly if you're in a position to turn, beauty out of ashes, so to speak, I mean, my gosh, what a greater gift right. to be given. And so, after the decision was made, just the thoroughness, the patience, there wasn't an ounce of pressure. It truly was, we are here to support you as a family if this is the route that you want to go. Right. And when that decision was made, what I really appreciated was, again, just the tenderness, the comprehensive way in which they prepared us for all of it, right. Just what needed to take place for the duration of KJ's hospital stay, just, what would happen upon his passing. I mean, all of those kind of technical details that we felt very informed, but even more than the informed part, I just felt incredibly supported in a very genuine and, just sincere way. And I can't put a price on that.
Right. So KJ was a patient at U of L Hospital.
Yes.
And there was a special ceremony.
Oh, his honor walk.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Can you talk about that?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, yeah. That, as painful of a day that it was, man, what a beautiful expression. I don't know, honestly, that I think I might have heard of honor walk, before in my life, had no idea right. other than conceptually, but
right.
to see the pause and you have to think this is a trauma unit, right? I mean, this is where people that are severely injured and, very critical. So I say that to say that, it's a unit that has a lot of intensity to it, right? Just by nature of what's happening in that space with the patients that they're caring for. But to see the intentionality of the hospital, to take the time out to line those halls with medical professionals, of course, all of family and friends. I mean, I'm a very spiritual person and faithful person. And so I can only imagine all the angels that were also present that day, but to honor his life in such a way, even when I think about the attending physician, the surgeon that was going to be present for the actual donation process, I mean, the words that were spoken over my son, what an incredible way to truly honor such a selfless act. And so I think it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful expression that, again, it's another beauty for ashes moment, right? In the midst of such pain.
Yes.
Look at all of this love surrounding this person. I know people probably listening or seeing this are maybe a little bit contradictory in their mind, like how can that be in the midst of such pain? Right. But it is one of the most special days that I will cherish for the rest of my life.
Right. Beauty from ashes, like that just really resonates with me. So Barry, we've talked about KJ and his family's experience. Can you talk about the importance of the partnerships that Network for Hope has with our hospital partners?
Sure. Our partners in the hospitals are the key to everything that we do. There's no donor that does not originate from a hospital. And very early on, when I became executive director of Life Center, before becoming CEO of Network for Hope, I felt like relationships with our hospitals were going to be the key for our success to honor those gifts of donation. So I made it very intentional to develop those relationships with not only like the executive level of the hospital, but all the way through, and make sure that our team did the same. And we really put a lot of time and effort into it. And I think that's one of the reasons Legacy Life Center was a high-performing organ procurement organization. But I think it really developed into a trusting relationship because of those relationships. I mean, in order to build a partnership, you have to start with relationships, and that partnership then leads to trust. So I think you can't have this type of work with that level of trust between us as the organ procurement organization and the hospital. So that's what we're trying to do in the Kentucky and West Virginia and Indiana hospitals. It's not going as fast as I want it to go, but nothing ever does.
It never does.
But we're getting there. And I think as we continue to do that and develop those relationships, then we'll move to a partnership, and then we'll move to a trusting partnership and trust between the two of us.
So the process in which KJ was able to give the gifts of life, he was a donation after circulatory death. We know that there's two pathways for organ donation. There's DCD, donation after circulatory death, and then there's brain death. Barry, can you talk a little bit about the distinction of the two?
Sure. I think brain death is one that most people associate with organ donation. I think that's probably the most common of what people think about, but in a very simplistic manner, brain death is when the patient's brain has stopped functioning and that person is on a ventilator, but those organs are being kept alive not by the person, but by the ventilator. A physician from the hospital makes a determination and does a series of tests to confirm that this patient is brain dead. Then that physician then goes and informs the family, and then we go talk to the family about the possibility for donation. And then there's a whole process to then match the organs with the best recipient. Right. And then at the end is when we go recover the organs and then through the whole medical process. For donation after cardiac death, it's a little bit different. The patient has not been declared dead.
So that is different.
Yeah, but their family has been told that they have a non-survivable injury, just like AJ. And the family has made, or at least had discussions about withdrawal of care. And that's when we start that conversation. We don't want to do it too early in the process, but we also don't want it to be too late in the process either. Because if a family has already made their decision, they've kind of moved on. So it's a art more than a science to figure out when that is. But like I said, that's when we get involved. If the family says yes to being a donor, then we go through the same matching process, but at the very end is when we do the honor walk.
Right.
And then that patient is still alive with DCD donation as they go to the room where they're going to do the withdrawal of care.
Right.
A physician within the hospital does that, as anybody associated with donation and transplantation is not even involved. No, we're not even in the room.
So it's important. Can you just say that again? Because I think people tuning in need to really understand that distinction.
Yeah. Again, at organ procurement organizations, we do not declare death. That is always done by a physician at the hospital. And you're right, that's where a lot of misinformation comes, especially with the media story that's been going on there for a while. That case, they said he was brain dead, which was false.
Right.
It's false. But with DCD donation, after that physician has withdrawn care, if the patient passes away within a 90-minute time frame, they can become an organ donor. If not, then typically they are brought back to the ICU room where they likely pass away later that day. But sometimes they do recover.
Right.
Very rare, but they do recover. But again, it's a different process. But I think that's, again, because that patient is brought in while still living for the withdrawal of care process. It gives the impression that we are bringing in a live patient to recover organs, which, again, we don't even begin the recovery process until that patient has been declared passed away.
Correct.
By the physician, not by us, by a physician. And it's nobody involved in donation or transplantation.
Did you have hesitancy with this process, the DCD process?
No, I did not. And again, we were very tuned in and certainly having intense conversations with all of the medical professionals from the minute KJ entered the hospital. Of course, you're there standing vigil, but no, I understood. I knew what his prognosis was. I truly, I had no reservations. I didn't have lack of clarity. I understood fully. When we knew what his prognosis was and we made the decision to withdraw care, I knew what the time frame, that 90 minutes that you talk about. I mean, that's, again, I'm a woman of faith. That's one of the things that I prayed before we went back to that room was for, you don't want your child to suffer when they're passing on, but I wanted his organs to be donated. So I was hoping that would be quick. And KJ passed away in 18 minutes. To Barry's point, we were there, first of all. I was there in that room with him as he transitioned. And the medical professionals, the hospital staff who ultimately, of course, were able to validate that he had passed on and could, declare his death. And, but yeah, I didn't have any reservation. Like I said, from the minute all of this started for us, and even just in being made aware that, your son did elect to be an organ donor. And if, that is something you all want to pursue, I mean, really, our interaction was with medical professionals around KJ's physical health,
Yes.
what his situation was, and what his prognosis was.
Right.
Had nothing to do with CODA, now Network for Hope.
Right.
They were just, once that decision had been made by us as a family to withdraw his care, once we had decided to honor him being an organ donor, that is when we began the conversations with them on just what takes place now and what to expect. And but even beyond all of that, I mean, honestly, I can't underscore enough the support.
Right.
It was, how are you and your family doing? There to be responsive to any questions or things that, we might not have thought of when we were having those kind of formal conversations, but just really there to support us. And what more can we do? We know that this is difficult in the midst of, the gift that you are giving others, but it was really just, how can we make sure that you and your family have the support that they need in this moment?
Right. And then following KJ's passing, so there is a department that provides, provides support
Yes.
for
Yes.
donor families.
Yes.
And that's our aftercare
Yes.
department.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the resources and just what that experience has been?
Oh yeah,
for you?
it's been wonderful. I mean, I feel like I've got some new BFFs. I mean, if I'm honest, I mean, I really do. It's like I see folks from the organization and we hug and we talk, but it's not just this, kind of cordial formality. I mean, it's sincere. I've developed a relationship with them because the reach outs have continued. I mean, from the minute we had to get through all of that painful episode and you're now kind of adjusting to life without this person, it was, I mean, just consistent check-ins. How is your family doing? I mean, even helping us in terms of, do you want to try and have some connectivity with the folks that have been the recipients of his gift? So there's all of that also added element of support. But really, I just can't underscore enough the, do you need to be connected with any type of, counseling services? Do you need, let's talk about the other even things that Network for Hope does to continue to honor the memory of your loved ones. I mean, so there's even those types of things that let you commemorate their lives. That's incredibly meaningful to families that have lost, well, anybody that's lost someone special to you, you know that you want to find ways to continue to honor and uplift them. And so even that has been a beautiful thing. I mean, I think to see the butterfly wall and to know all of these other things that I can do to cement KJ's life and legacy that will continue to outlive him. But I just can't underscore enough the constant, here are these resources for support. Please let it, the continued reach outs that they took the initiative to do. I didn't have to do that. It was wonderful to look up and you've got a phone call or you've got something in the mail. I mean, you know that people are thinking about you and they're thinking about you in a really, really, really sincere way.
Right.
Yeah.
That just warms my heart to know it's like you're now a member of a club you really didn't want to be a member of, but you're a member and you're just, being just shown all of this
special
love.
group.
And it is
well,
special.
And I think even when I think about, Barry talking about, if you're not sincere about this and it's just a job to you, so to speak, but when you also intersect with so many people that are part of the organization, many of them have been down this path. Many of them have lost loved ones, many of them. And so there is something to be said for, to your point, you're part of a special club. The club feels a little more special when people know the walk that you're on and they can, so you feel that pure sense of purpose that people have in being part of the organization. And it's not just a job, and that carries forward in terms of how they interact with you and how they communicate with you and the way they're able to support you in a really, really, really authentic way. And that is felt.
Right. So I'm going to make a transition here. So in 2021, September, there was a hearing that occurred, and part of that hearing was in regards to a case in Kentucky. And since then, we've had just more inquiries and just all kinds of things happening as we have become Network for Hope. So this was happening. We were in the process of merging. It was quite the storm. But what has resulted is there were different investigations that happened. And Barry, I'd like for you to talk about just an overview of what has occurred, and then also talk about the corrective action plan that is now in place for Network for Hope.
Yeah, sure. One thing just to correct you is the hearing took place in September 24.
24.
The case took place in 2021.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so,
you are absolutely right.
Yeah. Thank you for saying I'm right. You never say that to me, so thank you for saying I'm right. It's so unusual to hear.
I know. Don't get used to it.
Obviously it was the House Energy and Commerce Committee hearing that took place in September 11th of 24, and it was supposed to be about the OPTN, which is the Organ Procurement Transplant Network, which that organization sets all the rules and regulations for donation and transplantation. And it was supposed to be about the modernization initiative taken on by the OPTN. And what it turned out to be was something completely different. And it was really about bashing organ procurement organizations, and the case from 2021 in Kentucky came up. And we were having an executive team meeting at Network for Hope, and I was listening to this, and I told everybody, in not a kind way probably, just to shut up, because they're talking about a case in Kentucky, does anybody know? And we kind of were then scrambling to find out what this was all about. And ever since, it's been repeated in the media ever since.
Right.
And like I said, what we talked about earlier as far as misinformation, there was a lot of misinformation from the very beginning that just continues to perpetuate. This patient was declared brain dead. He was not. It was a DCD donor from the very, very beginning, that we took a live patient in to recover organs, which, again, it's true because it's a DCD donor, but there was never an attempt to recover organs because there was never a declaration of death.
Right.
So there was just a lot of misinformation that was perpetuated throughout this whole thing. So it led to Medicare, which governs all organ procurement organizations, to come in and look at that case as well as other things within Legacy Coda. They came in December. They had some recommendations for us. They came back in May and said that we were in full compliance. The OPTN, which again is the organization I mentioned earlier that handles all the rules and regulations for donation and transplantation, they did an audit and investigation of Network for Hope, and they had little minor recommendations. Then HRSA, which is kind of on par with Medicare, but they also oversee the OPTN. They did their own investigation, and they said that they looked at 351 cases from prior to the merger, and found that 107 had concerns, but they, as of right this very second, we still don't know what those concerns are. And nor was it any violation of anything by CMS or OPTN or anybody else, but their concerns. So that led to another hearing at the House Energy and Commerce Committee, which I was invited to. I wish I wasn't. But it was also the panel consisted, there was two panels during this hearing. The first one was with a representative of HRSA, which was Dr. Lynch. And then the second was with the past board chairs of the OPTN, the past board chair and the current board chair of the OPTN, as well as the CEO of UNOS, which manages a contract of the OPTN.
And for our people tuning in, UNOS is the United Network of Organ Sharing.
Right. So again, really what for listeners is what their primary role is to maintain the wait list, the organ wait list, and make sure that the matching process of organs from the donor to the recipient are done in an ethical and equitable way. And there's lots of rules and regulations around that. But during that hearing, they wanted to know more about that case and more about the things that Network for Hope has done since that time. And I think there is quite a lot that we have done. Part of the recommendations of HRSA was to do, and actually of Medicare as well, was to do a neuro exam once we get authorization from the family for a DCD case, to do a neuro exam every 12 hours just to make sure there's no changes in their neurofunction.
Right.
So I think this simple step is going to eliminate anything that happened in 2021 from ever reoccurring.
Right.
But also what we've implemented is a pause. So anytime there's a change in the person's neurological function, we pause, we get everybody together, including the donor family, but also the medical team involved, and then the Network for Hope staff involved, just to make sure that everybody's still comfortable moving forward. Not that we're not going to move forward, but just to make sure that, is this still appropriate to go on with donation? But something else that HRSA wants us to do, and quite frankly, something that we have to do, is better documentation. You know, anybody involved in healthcare knows if it's not documented, it didn't happen, or everything that is documented did happen, which can help you or hurt you. So we as Network for Hope have to do a better job in our documentation as well as our communication. And I know one of the things, just because Legacy Coda was growing so fast, they had a hard time filling those positions to keep up with the growth that they were experiencing. So they brought in a lot of travelers, just like in healthcare, you have traveling nurses, whether it's actually travelers for what organ procurement organizations do. So they brought in a lot of travelers, but we all know it's easier to keep your employees accountable and held to a certain standard than it is a third-party contractual employee.
Right.
And I would say that since the merger, we made this a big area of focus to eliminate or vastly reduce the number of travelers. And I would tell you, I think our team has done a fantastic job bringing in people, training those people, and then making it the Network for Hope way of how we want to do things. We've seen a big decline in the number of travelers that we've had. But I think having our own employees that know what we expect, and that's to have a service mentality and to do the right thing always, you know, for those families that are going through this. I think it's going to be a world of difference. And like I said, we're not there yet, but we're getting there. And I think our team's done a really good job navigating that.
Well, and I think too, under your leadership, you're modeling that, and I think that's really important. Well,
we talked earlier about like what's the importance of relationships with hospitals. But you know, like Adria said, you know, we're with this family for a few days, going through this donation process. So you do develop a relationship, and it's hard to just end it. Okay, once the organ recovery process occurs, to say, okay, goodbye, nice to know you. And that's not who we are.
No.
And that's not what we want to be. You know, we want to make sure that we maintain that relationship forever. You know? It just is the right thing to do. And it's the right thing to do to make sure that that family is supported, not just for those few days that we're with them, but for as long as they need it. So I just think that's something that, Legacy Code has done, Legacy Life Center has done. We're doing that with the Network for Hope. And that's always going to continue.
Right. So, what's foundational to the donation process is the trust of the public. And given the events that have unfolded since last year, that's been disrupted a bit. So, Barry, give us your thoughts on how that begins to be rebuilt.
Yeah, all these negative media stories and all the scrutiny just makes people question. Right? And I initially thought that it just impacted the people on the wait list, because if people are taking themselves off the registry, then there's less likelihood, potentially, that person's going to get their second chance. Right. But then another donor family mentioned to me that it actually impacts them too, because then it makes them question, did I do the right thing for my loved one?
Right.
And we never want that. Mm-mm. So, trust is something that's hard to build, but it's easy to lose. And we got to start from ground zero, and just rebuild that trust. And it's going to be like 1% at a time. Mm-hmm. But the stories of KJ and other donors, the stories of recipients, the more you get those stories out, mm-hmm. they kind of drown out all the negative.
Right.
And I think that's what we're going to be intentional, and we are intentional about doing, is what's the positives about donation? Mm-hmm. And yes, there's a lot of misinformation about this case that happened in 2021. Now, was it handled the best that it could? No, it was not. Mm-hmm. Could have been done better? Absolutely. But I think it's incumbent upon us to be dedicated to that. Mm-hmm. Because the more people that experience that, and I'm not asking for people to experience it, that's the worst thing you could ask for somebody to do. But for those people going through the donation process, we want them to have a great experience. And the great experience, I wish I could think of another word better for it.
On their worst day,
yeah,
having
right.
the best possible experience and that support. And,
right. So, and then they're going to tell that to their family and friends. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to tell that to their family and friends. And that's how we're going to have to rebuild public trust. It's not going to be anything Barry Massa says or Adria Johnson mm-hmm. says. They need to see it and experience it, or at least hear from somebody that's experienced it, not from somebody that, like me.
So, Adria, hearing what Barry said about the importance of public trust, and it starts one person at a time, right? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about that?
Gosh, I think he's spot on. I think, once trust is broken, we all know it's a little bit harder to restore it. But honestly, I think it pains me sincerely that the scrutiny, the level of scrutiny has led to this mistrust. I certainly agree that when we know better, we do better. And if there are things within the process that can be tightened up, and where there are concerns that lend to, really reevaluating policy and things like that, you certainly need to be committed to continue to do better. But
continuous improvement.
That's right, continuous improvement. Right. But I think, when I heard about, kind of the negativity that was going on, honestly, I was really dumbfounded. I was like, wait, what? It was just so counter to what we had experienced. And I, in no way, to the family that had those concerns, whatever their experience was in 2021, I certainly don't mean to be disrespectful or dismissive to what they went through. But my concern is, as a society, one incident, and I, again, in no way want to minimize that family's experience, it becomes the gospel.
Right.
And I think, my plea and my push would be, as we think about rebuilding trust, to really for the public to step back and put some things in perspective, have those conversations
Yes.
with folks that have been through this experience. Again, I've struggled to wrap my head around why all of this is going on, because it's not what we experienced. It's not what others that have been through organ donation have experienced that I've talked to. And so when I think about the 3 people that I know of that benefited and are benefiting from my son's gift, when I think about all of the people that are awaiting an organ, it makes me really sad that we're at this place where people are now feeling some reservation. And so I hope that folks that are watching, listening, just really maybe take a step back and, maybe try and maybe quiet some of the sensationalism, some of the noise, some of the emotion, and just really think about it's not how this happens. Right. I mean, I was a little bit dumbstruck by even the claim that the organ procurement organization would in some ways overshadow what your medical professionals are saying. I mean, I just think about, I've got a whole notes in my phone of every conversation I had with every attending physician, every nurse. I mean, every day of our 9-day stay, there were constant conversations and interaction with the medical staff that were making the determinations about my son's condition. The organ procurement agency had nothing to do with that. Right. And if there's one message I can get clear to folks, it would be that that is not how this goes down. Right. They are not dictating what is happening. They are not twisting your arm. And it really is, if in fact this is the outlook for your loved one, and in KJ's case of DCD, you decide to withdraw care, then if this is the route that you would like to go for your loved one, for him to be able to bless others, then here is what that process looks like, and here is what our support will look like. If people can really compartmentalize those two activities that, yes, are very blurred when this is happening, I think maybe that will help. But just get informed in your own genuine way, and reach out and have those one-on-one conversations with people that have been through this, to really then shape your impression of this and shape your decision of whether or not that's something you want to pursue for yourself, or if you're on the receiving end, you want to continue to sign up for that. But organ donation is a beautiful thing, and I just can't underscore enough what that has done for me and our family.
I appreciate you sharing it from the seat that you sit in, from that perspective, as the mom of KJ, a hero who was able to bless so many others through those gifts. So I think it's so important for people to hear that. So can you tell us about KJ?
Oh my gosh, my sunshine.
Yes, your sunshine.
Yeah, I called him my sunshine. S-O-N. He's my sunshine. He's still my sunshine. KJ was larger than life. Didn't meet a stranger. He was one of the funniest people on the planet. I used to joke with him and tell him he needed to be a stand-up comic. He didn't need to script himself. Just go talk. Just open your mouth. You'll have people in stitches. But he was, one of the beautiful things that Coda did for us was produce these little bitty cards. I keep one on my purse that just have a picture of him, and on the it talks about, it just uplifts him and his gift. And on the back, what we wrote on there was, the only thing bigger than his smile was his heart. He was known for his signature smile. He was always smiling. But I think my son was just, which is why, him being an organ donor, it's like, of course he signed up to be an organ donor. I mean, this is just who he was. He made everyone feel as if they were his best friend. And the 9 days we were in that hospital, and I watched people traipse in and out to love on him, love on us, express their support, had story after story of people that I didn't even know that, he had known in the way that he did, or that he had connected with in the way that he did, and supported them in the way that he did. And so he was just, he was a light. That's just the best way I can describe him. Just very humble, very selfless. And so in some ways, his last act on earth is very fitting for who he was while he was alive on earth. So yeah, he's a wonderful young man. Deeply missed.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh my gosh, of course. Yes.
We appreciate
it's a gift to be able to talk about him. It's a gift to say his name.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And just thank you for your honesty and just your continued advocacy.
Yeah.
For the importance of donation. And I think sharing your story and your experience it's going to touch other people and help inform them. So
thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
That. Absolutely. Barry, thank you.
You're welcome.
As always, it's a pleasure. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today and listening. This is a really important conversation. And I want to remind you that there are more than 100,000 people who are waiting for that life-saving gift. Gifts that donor heroes like KJ were able to give. And so I encourage you to be informed, get the correct information. You can visit networkforhope.org. There's a plethora of information and the facts about donation. I'd also like to remind you that today, 13 people will die because their call did not come in time. Again, you could be their hope. I want to thank you so much for listening, and also just to gently remind you to please be kind to yourself and to others. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to This Thing Called Life. Remember, every act of giving, no matter how small, has the potential to change a life. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts so you never miss a new episode. We'd truly appreciate it if you could share, like, or leave us a review to help us grow.